Seattle versus New England. That was Teddy's hand. I think I've seen this film before, but there's been a changing of the guard. Gone are the days of Brady, Belichick, Russ, and Carroll. Now it's McDonald and Darnold, Braves and May, gearing up for one last bout. So let's overanalyze this. Chalk and Chat starts right now.
From Las Vegas, this is Chalk and Chat. Sponsored by Superbook and Westgate Las Vegas.
Welcome into Chalk and Chat. I'm Mariah Janos. It's finally here after 22 weeks of blood, sweat, and tears. Two teams have made it to Santa Clara, and while Tom Brady claims he doesn't have a dog in this fight, which is beyond rude, I certainly do. It's also the Puppy Bowl as well. I also have some dogs in this room, known for being calm, intelligent, and sleek. Having a long, flexible back, the Greyhound seems like the perfect comp for our Teddy covers. And next to him, stubborn yet social, susceptible to overheating, skin infections, and bilateral hip disease, the English Bulldog. That is Fat Jack.
How we doing today?
How
Yes.
perfect. Woof woof.
Not that far off.
Now that's an intro.
Yeah.
You see mine, we have a shirt off.
Yeah.
I'm him or a Shar-Pei for sure.
Right, just the rolls, it looks identical. Coming up on today's show, we're tracking the line movement over the course of the last week and a half. Where will it be come kickoff? And it's the big game, so we got props, and more props. In addition to Teddy and Jack's picks, the Superbook is filling us in on popular plays by the Sharps this week. Also, Jalen Brunson's in the conversation. Yes, the basketball player. So stick around to see what that's all about. And we'll wrap it up with game scores and predictions. But the week is finally here, days away.
Something for everybody in this show.
Yeah.
So if you're a degenerate and you want to talk about crossover sports, and we got that for you. I mean, we'll get that, but all the way down to who's going to win this game and a PSA announcement, I think from Teddy and I both, on what lines and spreads are in the big game.
Yes. So we're going to go over kind of the movement that we've seen since the lines were posted and we had our matchup for the big game. Teddy, what have you been seeing over the course of the last week and a half?
So, not much.
Yeah.
We've seen a little bit.
Right.
Okay. So, at the Westgate, there were 5s and 4.5. Sorry, 4.5 and 46 at the open. Now we're looking at 5 and 45. So, we've seen a little bit of money for Seattle. We've seen a little bit of money for the under. But again, we talk a little bit when it comes to the biggest game of the year. A little bit's a lot.
Yeah.
But the money so far, at least, has come for Seattle and under. We talk about where they're moving and what we expect before kickoff. I don't think this gets to 6. I don't think the total gets any lower than it is right now. I mean, Jack, do you expect a lot of movement between
clearly,
here?
it's important to point out that this is not a college basketball game. I mean, with even a lot of money, they're going to be heavy on Seattle for sure. All the books are, and they're okay with that. With all the prop bet money that comes in and stuff, they're going to be that way. The other thing, if you're this is important about shopping numbers, because it's not necessarily the number, because you're to that non-key number of 5, but you can get even money at some of the houses right now if you like New England and you're laying minus 110. You're seeing more of those promotional odds out there as far as the money you're having to lay. So shop that around as this thing kind of fluctuates. But no, definitely not getting over any key numbers for sure. I'm not sure we see 5. You think we see 5 when the public comes in?
Yeah, I mean, so 9.
It's at 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's the 5's the prevailing number now here in Las Vegas. There are still, I mean, it's a split line, the 4.5s and 5s as we speak. I would not be surprised if we end up grading this as Seattle minus 5 when all's said and done. But 90% of the money comes in the last 72 hours before kickoff. So
Is that a wise approach, waiting till kickoff, or does
If you
that
live
more
in
depend
California-
on what side you're on?
Yeah, if you live in California or Oklahoma or somewhere, you're betting it the day of or the week of. That's where the public's not. They're worried about work right now, not about these numbers. So, right?
Sure, but and if you're saying, is that the smart approach? It just depends on which bets you're going to make. It was, if you wanted to bet the under, you missed the best of the number.
Right.
Is that going to mean that the difference between winning and losing? Probably not, but it might.
And that's opposite to normal. So normal, the closer you get to kickoff, you're going to wait on unders, you're going to wait on underdogs, and you're going to play favorites earlier in the week. But it has been, Tate's talked about this before, but it has, as we've been leading up to this game, it's been a little bit shocking or different in that you saw the total come down a little bit at the start. I don't know that it goes back to 46. I mean, you're going to get over money, but there's a lot with these two defenses, a lot of cases can be made that this is a low-scoring game.
Yeah.
As you say, this is the lowest total in the last 10 big games. Last time we had a total this low was Denver, Carolina, which stayed under the total. Was not a particularly pretty game to watch. This is in the same range. KC San Fran was 46.5. And, of course, that was 25-22 in overtime, sneaking over the total by a hook. And a real boon for those who had 2 and 5 in their squares. Of course, we're talking about squares on the big game Sunday. But we're certainly looking at what is expected to be one of the lower scoring big games in the last decade or so.
We disagree with that, by the way.
Oh, you do?
I think there are going to be more points. So, but
Okay.
yeah, this is one of the lower totals. There is the expectation would be defenses rule, and I think the fact we can't really jump behind either of these quarterbacks. I mean, Sam Darnold, nobody sees him lifting a trophy of any kind, yet he's in the big game.
Right.
And you've got Drake May that's young, and they're kind of defensive minded with their head coach. So under is definitely the overwhelming thought out there. And we should mention also, Teddy, if you're not going to, the props also. If you're going to go over. You wanted to do that earlier in the week. If you're going to go under, you wait until leading up to kickoff because that same money that comes in, general public wants to have fun, wants to have a good time. They're going to be betting these overs as we lead up to Sunday evening.
Okay, we are just getting started here on Chalk and Chat. A lot more prop bet conversations coming our way, but we're heading down to the Superbook for the full breakdown of the money that's come in and some of the plays that the wise guys are eyeing.
You're watching Chalk and Chat, sponsored by Superbook in Westgate, Las Vegas.
All right, we are here at the Superbook at the Westgate for the final time this season. It's bittersweet, but I'm joined by the man, John Murray, VP of Race and Sports here at the Westgate. Okay, so let's just get into it. It is the week of the big game. What kind of action have you been seeing this week leading up to it?
A lot of Seattle. A lot of bets on Seattle. Even when we moved the line on Saturday, this past Saturday, we went to Seattle -5, and they kept betting Seattle anyway. Right now, it's about 2/3 of the tickets on Seattle and about 75% of the money on Seattle. We need New England. How does that make you feel?
I'm glad we're on the same team this week. I mean, it's nice.
For now.
It's not
But
going
aren't
to
you-
swing. Do you expect to swing?
No, I don't.
Let's talk about how this event compares to other sporting events in terms of the public influence when it comes to this.
Influence in the sense that we will have to move the line if our liabilities get too high. It doesn't necessarily have to be quote-unquote sharp money. We can't lose X amount and then just say, well, it was a bunch of public players that bet it. That's not going to fly. There is a point for all the sports books where we would need to write money on the other side. And I guess we felt like we were there on Saturday when we went to Seattle -5. Although, honestly, it was really more of an exploratory thing. Like, let's go to 5, see if anybody wants 5.
Yeah.
So far, not really. But, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday here at the Westgate, we'll be dealing the game -105 juice both ways.
Okay.
And I know there's a lot of people that are waiting for that. Saving the juice, they'll be here Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Smart people to save the money.
Let's get into the props because obviously those are a huge deal when it comes to this game. Any prop bets that the Sharps are liking?
They bet over 1.5 interceptions in the game on Sunday. They bet Seattle will not convert a 4th down conversion. They bet that there will be no 2-point conversion attempt. How about this one? Over 13.5 different players with a pass reception. And Sam Darnold, more passing yards in the first half than the second half.
Well, John, thank you so much. Let's go New England, right? Let's save the book. We got to save the book. We got to keep the book in business, okay? I love it. All the Vegas books are on my side this weekend, I think, for the most part, unless there's a massive swing, which is not happening. But what did you think of those props that he was throwing out there that the Sharps are liking?
So first, the books will be fine.
Yeah, no
Lights are
kidding.
staying
The
on
books
either
will be
way.
fine, guys, all right?
Yeah,
Just-
the lights will be on come Monday morning.
Thank God.
So a lot of those props make sense. I've got some over 1.5 interceptions in my pocket as well. Darnold to have more passing yards in the first half and the second half. What's the thought process there? Well,
Get ahead early.
if Seattle
Game
has a
flow.
lead, they're going to try to run the football
Yep.
after the break. There was another one that stood out to me from that group.
No 4th down conversions.
Yeah, so Seattle for the full season, Seattle had the fewest 4th down attempts and the fewest conversions. So they're not a team that's likely to go for it on 4th and 3 from their own 38,
Yeah.
like Detroit or some of the other teams like to do.
And people should understand a lot of it with the Sharps, it's only about the math, all right? It's about what odds they're given versus how often that happens, not only with a specific team, but in the league in general, where the general public's coming in saying that would be fun. But if it happens 1 out of every 6 times, but you're having to lay 1 out of every 9 times, or reverse that, that's where the Sharps end it right there. They're going to just take the math and move on down the line. So important to understand that.
All right, so let's get into some of your guys' picks for these props. Teddy?
Sure, I want to talk some general prop strategies right off the tap, because the best props to bet, over, under, or yes or no, the worst props to bet, again, this is my opinion, but when you have 20 different options and only one's going to cash. I like props where it's yes or no, over or under, as opposed to first player, first touchdown scorer, or a big game MVP, or any of those odds that any of those props that have literally dozens of options. You're not getting true value for your dollar, as opposed to the yes or no props where there's only 2 outcomes. The other general prop strategy I want to talk about right at the top is the classic mistake that the casual bettors make. They want to bet a little to win a lot. So they're betting these long shots, whether it's going to be safety, yes, or overtime, yes, or 2-point conversion made, yes, or octopus, yes. And I get it. People like to bet a little to win a lot, but the pros that I know tend to do the other way. They're betting the no safety, no OT, no made 2-point conversion, no octopus. So that's 2 things that are worth mentioning at the top before we start talking about recommendations.
Are you betting for money? You betting for fun?
Yeah.
We talked about this in September. That's the difference. You're betting for fun. You want an octopus.
Yeah.
You're betting for money. You want to eat the octopus and try to make your money doing something else. So.
Love it. Love it. Okay, so what are with all that being said, Teddy, what are your picks for us?
Well, I got to give you one when it comes to the coin toss. If you're going to bet the coin toss, you got to do it at our sponsor, at the Westgate. They're minus 101. So, you don't want to lay 11 to 10 on a coin toss. You can do it at the cheap price at the Westgate. So we'll give them credit in that regard. But 2 props that I like for sure. This is a ladder where I'm going to bet no score for the first 4:30, 5:30, 6:30, 7:30 of the game. And if you cash the first one, you do okay. Start into the second, third, fourth, start making some real money. But I do expect a conservative early game plan. You can also bet Seattle or New England to punt before they score as another way, as opposed to no score first 4.5, 5.5, 6.5, 7.5 minutes. But that's one in terms of a low-scoring start, a conservative start to the game. That's a way that I like to get at it. Another guy I'm looking for is Steph Diggs. Okay. Under first reception, under total yards for the game. Diggs is a big name, but he's a possession receiver. I don't think he's going to get the downfield opportunities in this ballgame.
If you're betting the coin toss any place but the Westgate or with your buddy, all you're telling that guy that's taking your bet is, I don't have any friends. That's what you're telling me. I have no friends. I've had to come to you and pay you 10% to take my coin toss bet. It's ridiculous. So there's easier spots, though, and things that we think are a little less of a randomness. And I'm going to go to a couple of specific players.
Okay.
Hunter Henry. All right, let's talk Hunter Henry. All right, this is gonna help you, Mariah. Let's get some Hunter Henry yards in the mix here. It's Drake May. It's Hunter Henry. We're getting down the middle of the field.
That's a security blanket,
right? And it's going to be more than that, because let's go with the premise: neither of these teams are going to run the ball effectively. I don't think either of these teams are going to have a lot of success running it. So they're going to be forced to do other things with the ball. And Seattle is not good defending the tight end position, especially when they have to go man coverage. They were 29th in the league against the tight end. So I think Hunter Henry, who's had some big games this year, is going to be a big part of them keeping the chains moving. There will be short passes, but let's go over his yardage. It went from 38.5 now up to 39.5 a lot of spots. I still think there's a little value there because of that matchup advantage for New England. The other thing, Lamondre Stevenson, I don't think that this is a guy rushing yards might be tough, all right, but we're going to go receptions and rushing yards, because I think that they're going to have, both these teams are going to have to keep the running backs in the game somehow, some way. Think Puka Nacua. Think McCaffrey, those type things. Short extensions of the running game, throwing the ball a little bit. He's going to get his. He's also gone over this number 5 straight games just rushing the ball. So he's gone over 70 yards at least. It's number 74 and a half. Expect him to catch the ball more. Go with one premise and then find a couple of different players that you think will be able to benefit from that. I don't think they're going to be able to run it, so we're going to have to do it other ways. Those are a couple overs, which the general public also likes.
I like
So
it.
fun.
Okay. Well, guys, still to come on Chalk and Chat. We've covered some of those traditional prop bets, but we're going to go a little outside the box with our prop battle. Like I said, Jalen Brunson's in the mix. What does he have to do with anything? Stick around to find out.
You're watching Chalk and Chat, sponsored by Superbook in Westgate, Las Vegas.
All right, it is time for the prop battle, and this one's going to be a little less traditional than we've been doing all season long. They're pretty unique props, but that's what makes it fun. All right, so let's get into it. We've got yardage of the longest field goal versus the total points in the game, you guys.
Yeah, that's a fun one. I thought it was fun to discuss because here's the concept. You're talking about, are there going to be field goals? Are there going to be long field goals? Is the game going to be higher scoring or lower scoring? And it kind of mixes it all together in one prop. And the longest field goal, there's a little bit of juice attached to it right now versus total points in the game. I don't care. I'll lay that juice. Jack and I have a little disagreement about whether this is going to be a higher scoring game or a lower scoring game. The betting market so far and the sharp money so far are telling us don't expect points in bunches. We have two teams that aren't likely to be able to run the football that much. And it's a type of game where both coaches, I think, are going to be comfortable taking 3 points. So I think we'll have the field goal opportunities. I think we're going to have a long field goal in this one, and we get a 53-yarder, you're in trouble, Jack.
I think, yeah, you're right. I mean, they're probably not going over 53, but I will also tell you that I think that bet is going to be right for a lot of the game. But later in the game, we're going to open it up a little bit. Both these teams average 27, 28 points per game, respectively. That's actually 655 with my math. So if they go anywhere near that, we're going to need a long field goal. I'm going to go total points. I do think there will be more points in the game than is expected.
I don't do math at all, so I'll just trust you on that. Okay, so the next one, like I was saying, Jalen Brunson, what? Yes, of New York in basketball. Jalen Brunson points, which is the New York versus Boston. Versus AJ Barner's receiving yards. This is just written out so strange to me. Like, explain this, Teddy. What are we doing here? Jalen Brunson's points versus AJ Barner's receiving yards.
That was terrible, by the way.
I know, because I'm like looking at this like, what does that mean? I have never seen a prop bet like
Go
this.
ahead, Teddy. Tell us why Jalen Brunson's going to go off here.
So one of the things we love about the Westgate, all right, and why we're excited that they sponsor this show, is that they've got really cool props for Big Game Sunday. And these are called cross sports props.
Oh, God.
So you're betting on something in pro basketball in relationship to pro football.
If I can't do math, I can't do that.
Well,
So,
it makes it interesting.
you
They're
know?
fun. They're interesting to consider. And here's Jalen Brunson going against Boston on the Big Game Sunday. He's -0.5 versus A.J. Barner total receiving yards. So you have Brunson points versus Barner receiving yards, -0.5. And I think Brunson, he's been in a shooting slump of late, so the number's a little bit lower than it should be. He's got a great track record versus Boston. And you got a national TV game on a day that everyone's watching. I think we get a big game from Jalen Brunson. I like him better than A.J. Barner.
Teddy does a lot of homework, a lot of research, did not do his research on this one. All right. You know how A.J. Barner has done the second Sunday of every single month this year?
The second
The
Sunday.
second Sunday.
every
That's what we are.
month.
Second Sunday. Second Sunday in September, I think he went for 70. Second Sunday in October, like 50. He's a second Sunday player. That is next level research, next level handicapping. He averages over 50 yards per game the second Sunday of the season each year. Brunson going to have 50? I doubt it. Let's go over with the receiving yards.
You really put your back into it with that one. Okay.
I do the extra stuff. I go the extra mile on some of these.
We love a second Sunday. Finally on Chalk and Chat, it's the final block of our final show of the season, which is really sad. I think we should just go back to the top of the show instead, but whatever. Stick around.
You're watching Chalk and Chat, sponsored by Superbook in Westgate, Las Vegas.
All right, you guys, the final 3 minutes of our lives here.
To the season.
Or the first 3 minutes of our life. Depends on how you look at
That's
it.
true. On to new beginnings. Anywho, no. Let's talk a little bit more about this matchup, though, from a side standpoint. We've talked about totals a bit. We've obviously hammered the props. But what jumps out at you guys when it comes to taking a side in this matchup?
You want to go? You want me to go?
You go, Jack.
Someone go.
Listen, here's the deal. I just think there's a PSA announcement that needs to be reiterated to the general public who's going to roll in and play Seattle. It's not, they're not a lock for sure, but we don't want to talk about parity right now. No one wants to talk about parity in the league. There's a lot of parity in professional football. That's the first place to start. The other thing is when you look at underdogs in this game, just like we had Denver and New England last week, but in this game particularly, the championship game, dogs of more than 4 points, they're 11-2 against the spread over the last 20 some odd years. Should we repeat that?
Go for
Dogs of 4 points or more are 11-2. So if you're playing Seattle, and this matters because you talk about value in this league is created because all the money that comes in, there is value with the underdog in this game. And it's not me saying that. It's what's happened every time we get a 4-point dog or more in this game. So if you're bringing in your paycheck to go ahead and shove it all in because you think Seattle's better, you're going to talk
Maybe
about...
don't do that.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm not saying that the other side's a lock. I'm just saying be careful because more times than not, underdogs rule this game.
Sure. I mean, the one thing that is consistently, and Jack, you nailed it, 11-2, ATS at 3.5 or higher. And the two are both worth noting. One of them was Peyton Manning versus Rex Grossman. And I don't think this is that.
Better not be.
The other was arguably the worst officiated game in modern big game history in Pittsburgh and Seattle, where a few, by a few meaning every call went in one direction for that one that helped Pittsburgh win and cover that game.
Save your emails, though, because we're not saying because it's the biggest game of the year in football that it is a lock of any kind or something to push in extra money. It's a very evenly matched game. Mistakes will most likely determine the winner. Be careful with that.
Okay, so quick, final score predictions from each of you.
I like Seattle 27-24. So New England covers, goes over.
I got 23-20 Seattle. Okay. So different team to win than covers, under.
Apparently we're not sharp.
But you're both in sync with you're expecting a 3-point game. Yeah, why not?
Somebody turns it over 3 times, they're going to get blown out. If not, we think it's close.
There it is. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this season. We have loved hanging out with you. We miss you already. Best of luck this weekend. We'll see you in the fall.